Please be seated. Typically, the State of the Parish address happens on the same Sunday as the annual meeting. When we held our annual meeting last Sunday, I was in the middle of a pernicious and humbling non-COVID virus. With gratitude for healing, rest, and your patience, I've had another week to reflect on Trinity's life and ministry in 2022 and look ahead into this year. And so, dear people of God, congregation of Trinity Parish, my siblings in Christ, greetings in the name of the one holy and indivisible God. I give thanks to you, I give thanks for you every day, and for the gift and privilege of proclaiming the good news of God's love with you. This past Thursday, February 2nd, was Groundhog Day, but it was also a celebration that often passes unnoticed in the church year. Candlemas, or the Feast of Light, marks the halfway point between the winter solstice and the vernal equinox. It celebrates that God continues to bless us with light, with every sunrise, with the possibility of life and growth every morning. In the Northern Hemisphere Church, the celebration of returning light takes the form of blessing all the candles that will be used in the church that year. And individual congregation members made and brought their own candles from home to be blessed. During the Candlemas service, the church was brilliantly bright with all the lit candles. And at the end of the service, people would process home, carrying lit candles, carrying the holy light of community and faith to their homes and daily lives. It's a powerful image, a brilliant mass of light exiting the church and slowly, slowly moving out into the world, taking that brightness, those beacons of hope and blessing out. Today's gospel reading follows immediately after the Beatitudes, and Jesus tells the still gathered crowd, "You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid, and no one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, on the lampstand, and it gives light to the whole house. And in that same way, let your light shine before others." He's just taught about all the blessings of a life that intentionally does justice, loves kindness, walks humbly with God. A life like his that radiates God's love and invites all people to hope, reconciliation, and fullness of life. Jesus is the light of the world, and he shares that light with us, blessing us and sending us to carry that holy light into the world today. Now, a single candle or flame is good by itself. It casts a warm glow and illumination to those nearby, and it invites people to draw near. Lots of holy lights, like when we light all the candles on the altar during Epiphany. Many holy lights together are brighter, more noticeable, exponentially more inviting, harder to hide or ignore. By God's grace, Our light here at Trinity is growing and will continue getting brighter. As we begin 2023, we are at a dramatically different place than we were a year ago. Last year's State of the Parish was given during a service that had 5 people at it because we were worshiping remotely during the Omicron surge in January. Today we gather in person, welcoming congregations at 2 services to worship, masked or not, sitting close or not, with a full choir and live stream at 10:30. A year ago, we were finishing a year where we had an average of 30 people in church on a Sunday. In 2022, our average was 56, and that was a number that grew steadily over the course of the year and continues. We are slowly and steadily drawing more people to the light. I find it incredibly exciting and hopeful that we welcome visitors and seekers nearly every Sunday. Last year's annual address, I went back and read it. It was very much from the perspective of being in the pandemic. And it was. We were at home again. Today, it feels like we are figuring out ways to live and thrive after the pandemic by integrating what we've learned in the past 3 years. What a difference a year makes. Let's take just a moment to reflect on a few of the bright points of 2022. First, worship. Worship is the heart of our community life. It affirms our vital relationships with God and one another. And it feeds and strengthens us, reminds us that we have good news to share with the world. Worship just got better and better in 2022. After beginning the year with a few weeks of live streaming, we returned to in-person worship and reinstated the 8 o'clock service at the end of February, just in time for Lent. Over the course of the year, the choir increased from a single cantor to quartets to the full ensemble. In Advent, the 8 o'clock congregation began sitting in the choir and celebrating at the high altar, and now they don't want to do anything else. So I think we're staying there. We continue to live stream our 10:30 service every Sunday, making it possible for people to join us when they're sick or traveling or just live far away. The brightness of our digital light owes great thanks to the keen attention of Cammie, who volunteered to run the live stream when Mark David needed to be fully present with the choir during worship. So Cammie, thank you. We combined and intensified our lights by articulating our shared values. At the Day of Discovery in June, we named Trinity's deep values of diversity and inclusion, community, engagement with our neighbors, and a sacred place and holy space. Rooted in our history as a congregation, these 4 values affirm who we are today and the light that we aspire to shine as God's people. The vestry and I used those values plus information gathered at the cottage meetings in the summer to inform our separate discernment processes about a rector call. And in September, I was honored to accept the vestry's invitation to be Trinity's 12th rector. The vestry's strong and faithful leadership is the 3rd bright point of the year. Tending the physical health of our community, discerning with a dispersed congregation, setting direction for renewing our life together, and holding the tension of stressed finances created many extra vestry meetings this past year for a smaller than usual leadership group. With your prayerful support, the vestry combined their lights, their passions and love for Trinity to shine as leaders and stewards of our community. And the fourth, reinvigorating fellowship, recognizing that we have many needs and desires as we rebuild ministries, and we have limited resources. The vestry identified an overall priority for reinvigorating fellowship by developing a strong Christmas, coffee hour, adult formation, and ministries with children. These focus areas carry through June 2023. Just naming these bright lights of our life in this past year draws them closer together, and we collectively shine brighter. So let's just take a moment to bask in the glow of God's grace and goodness that brought us through 2022. And speaking of shining brightly, do you know what an amazing staff we have here at Trinity? We gathered together last spring for an in-person team building, and we discovered that every one of us has creative passions. There are 5 staff members besides me, and among us, we have 4 accomplished musicians, a photographer, multiple people who are creative with words and images, a screenwriter and director. Shall I go on? The creativity was really beautiful and astounding. And while our job titles may not reflect all of who we are or the fullness of our individual passions for light and life, I feel blessed and grateful to work with this team who love Trinity, its people, its values, and its building. When you next see our administrator, Christy, our music director, Sister Joe, a choral director, Mark Davin, our sexton, Eric, or assistant sexton, David, please thank them for their ministry. As we shift gears and focus our light on the year ahead, it's clear that our collective light is still regaining strength after the pandemic. The assumptions of our world, our economy, our city, First Hill, how people engage with church and the role of churches in the social fabric have all shifted in the past 3 years. Trinity has been blessed to be part of Seattle for 158 years, and so that our light continues to burn brightly for another 158, and hopefully more. This year will be a time to pause, listen, and learn with one another and with our neighbors about how and where the light of love and hope is needed, where and how we can be that light of mercy and justice in this post-pandemic world. Finding our place in the fabric of the world and the city, asking what it means to be church now, will prepare us to shine even brighter as Trinity Parish, the beacon of God's love on Seattle's First Hill. Shining a light on our resources reveals that Trinity is not immune to the economic realities of the larger society. Our finances are still recovering from 2+ years of expenses for buildings and utilities and staff that pretty much stayed static and even grew a little with inflation, while naturally with the pandemic, attendance and giving dipped. We finished 2022 with a $157,000 budget shortfall, a shortfall that will require a significant withdrawal from the endowment. Trinity's endowment is a beautiful gift of past generations, and every time the vestry decides to withdraw principal from it, we shorten its future reliability for ensuring Trinity's ministry. But let me just say that for now, our endowment is healthy and well managed as a long-term investment, which we hope will continue to grow as the stock market regains strength. Rebuilding post-pandemic will not happen overnight, as we are also adjusting to ministry and life in a new world. Trinity will draw our lights together, as we have for more than 150 years, to faithfully ask how God is inviting us to let our light shine. As we look into 2023, we have a bright future to celebrate. We are the light of the world, and our light is growing. The more we let our light shine, the more people will see it and be attracted to the love and hope that we carry to the world. With 57 pledges for just under $200,000 as of this morning, we're about 80% of the way to our budgeted pledge goal. That is good news. More exciting to me than money, we have a full vestry for this year, for the first time since 2019. Thanks to Noel, Richard, Renwick, Betsy, Hillary, Lauren, and Sally for offering their passions and energy for this year. I am excited to get to know this group and for the ministry of listening and learning that we are beginning together. We will bless and commission our vestry for this year in worship on Sunday, February 26th. Another sign of life and hope is that ministry groups are organizing and reviving after having their flames very diffused for 3 years. We're looking forward to more adult forum programs, more ways to volunteer together and connect with our neighbors, more ways to support one another this year. If you have passions, light to share, please speak up. Give me a call or send me an email. You never know where your light could join with another to attract more joy and more love. Last month, I celebrated my 16th anniversary as a priest. When I was ordained on that cold January night, I never imagined it would take this long to become a rector. I am reminded that when we think we know the way forward, the Holy Spirit almost always has other ideas for us. No matter how we plan, humbling ourselves before God means the path is never as brightly lit or as direct as we hope. And yet, no part of our lives, our faithful journey, is wasted because God is always working in and through us. I believe this is true in our personal lives and in our life as a congregation. All those other experiences in life and ministry were preparing me to come home to the right place to be a rector with you. Thank you, Trinity, for calling me to walk with you for the next part of the journey, mine, yours, and ours together. I am humbled by the call, by the holy possibilities of living our faith, by the strength and endurance of this community, and always by the grace of God. We are starting this year with a party of gratitude for God's faithfulness. On Tuesday, February 28th, at 6:30 in the evening, Bishop Melissa Skelton joins us for a celebration of new and mutual ministry, blessing our relationship as parish and rector. Mark your calendars and plan to come for a joyful and festive service, followed by a party. I hear there may even be dancing. Beloveds, we are the light of the world. I am so grateful to be here with you, all the lights of the world, on the corner of 8th and James. This year, together with faith and courage, we will learn about this new world we're living in and how our light brings a flash of holy welcome and joy to our neighbors, drawing everyone, all people, into the reflection of God's light and love. This comes with my love and prayers. Sabeth.